Hey, welcome back to the channel. I had a really good suggestion from a viewer about the video we did earlier in the week about the new Jensen portable cassette player that I picked up on Amazon. That was pretty terrible. The suggestion was, well, before you toss it, why don't we take it apart and see what the internals look like? Are they cheap and nasty like the sound? I think that's a great idea, so we're going to do that today. Well, we're going to keep this a pretty laid-back, casual video today. We're just going to take this thing apart and have a look at the inside and see if the internals match the sound quality. So we'll get started here. It looks like there are only 4 screws holding it together from what I can see on here. So we'll go ahead and get those out of here. There's one. You know, I was actually surprised with this one that it was a stereo head, as was pointed out in the comments of the last video as well. You know, a lot of the cheap Chinese stuff, they throw a mono head in it, and it's not even stereo. And it's a shame. There's even boom boxes that look like stereo boom boxes that they're putting out that are 100% completely mono. I mean, they went just as cheap and nasty as they possibly could on these things. All right, let's see here. Are there any screws I'm missing anywhere else? Nope, it's starting to come loose. All right. Let's see. And I guess I don't need to be too concerned about breaking it because I'm never going to use this thing. It is absolutely terrible. All right, so there's the inside of the case. That's a pretty flimsy piece of plastic. All right, so if we look at the internals here, let me see if this whole thing will come out. Any screws holding that? I don't see any. Looks like it just might be the switches and everything holding that circuit board in. And the battery contact. And a couple of wires. All right, well, let's get a little bit closer of a shot of this circuit board here before we take this out apart any further. All right, so that's about as close as I can get with just the normal camera here. But if we look at the circuit board, looks like a bunch of surface mount components. I'm actually seeing a couple of jumper wires on there. Maybe something wasn't working right in their original design. Looks like our maybe our AM antenna right here on the side. A little bit of tape holding, was that just extra wire? Yeah, holding those battery wires down. Yeah, there really isn't much to this thing, but we really didn't expect that, did we? Considering that it is not a full-featured unit. Let's get this out a little bit further. Let me grab a pair of wire cutters. It's not like I'm going to use this thing. All right. We'll just hoik this thing out of there. We may as well learn a little bit before we throw it in the bin, right? All right, so here's the other side of the board. For those of you wanting to see what this board looks like, I'll throw some pictures up here on the screen of what it looks like on both sides. That way you can reverse engineer it or marvel at its simplicity. But yeah, there's a few just looks like small, tiny, lacquer-coated wire. Actually, that looks like that might be for the AM antenna. It just runs right across the Those wires run right across the circuit board on there. That's something. All right, not very impressive. Get rid of that. And then we've got the main unit here. Looks like we've got very cheap, very wobbly. The flywheel itself is plastic, which would account for all that wow and flutter it was getting. It's pretty loose too. I mean, it just jiggles back and forth. Standard motor. Real small. I mean, kind of what you'd expect for a cheap Chinese belt on there. But then it looks like, here, let's see, that's going to, so that's for our single spindle, our single drive spindle for the take-up reel. It's just a gear drive right to that plastic flywheel. Completely plastic mechanism on there. I don't know if you can see that. There is nothing metal in that mechanism. It's 100% plastic. Plastic on plastic. The only metal in there, besides the hubs that those run on, are these little springs down here which double as a switch. We cut the wires off to that. So when those two springs touch, I'm assuming that that's for the fast forward and play. So that must be what activates the motor. I mean, just really hilariously cheap. We pop the cover off and we look at the top of it here, so it gives us a little bit better view in here. A little pinch roller, capstan, tiny little head. I'll get another shot of that and throw on the screen here for you too, so you can see a better shot of the heads. I couldn't really get that the last time because that door was in the way and I didn't want to break it. But now that we're not too concerned about that, we can actually see all that. So yeah, not too impressive. It's absolutely as cheap and nasty as we thought it would be. So, but if you were curious, there you go. That's what's inside one of these cheap Chinese brand new cassette players from Amazon. If you have any thoughts or comments on that, please be sure to leave those down below in the comments section. I love hearing from you guys, and we end up with a lot of nice conversations that start down there, I think. So thanks again for watching. Hopefully we'll have something a little bit more interesting next time. But for now, I've been Chad. This is the Vintage Electronics Channel, and we'll see you next time.